Let's say that I'm German, and I am extremely proud of my country. Does that mean that I'm proud of what happened with Nazi Germany? No. No, I am not proud of what happened with Nazi Germany, but instead I am proud of what Germany is today. I am proud of how far this country has come, and I am proud of the values that this country represents. So this means that through the acknowledgement of past mistakes, I am still able to have national pride towards Germany, which is exactly what side opposition is pushing forth in our case today. Now, I'd like to first start off with some definitions and some counter definitions to what side proposition has proposed. We accept the definition for how the history curriculum is a high school only focus, but we would also like to add that with the idea of prioritizing national identity and nationalistic narratives, we are not going to be glorifying history, we're going to be stating that is happening in India. But what we are proud of is your nation, because it means that national pride means pride for your nation's values. See, an example of this is when you're trying to qualify for a Japanese citizenship, they ask you if you're proud of what Japan is today. They don't ask you whether you're proud of what Japan did in World War II. They're simply asking about whether you're proud of Japan's values today, and that therefore is why the values is the important part and not past actions. So what does being proud of values even mean? An important value of Japan, for example, is dignity. And though dignity has led to Japan doing many bad things in the past, dignity is also what led to modern changes today. It led to Japan apologizing for their past because they realized that dignity is better upheld if they accept what they did in World War II. And furthermore, Japan also raised other values like democracy and liberty, and what this simply means is that values can change. Japan's recurring value was dignity, and their definition and interpretation of what dignity is changes throughout. And side opposition believes that you are allowed to change your interpretation of a value. And a country can also be adding new values. For example, Japan added the values of democracy and liberty to the importance of their own nation. And this is what came later. So today, Japan still upholds this. Japan still upholds dignity. Japan still upholds
information.
Yes, yes, I'll take it now.
Why is it likely that history will be taught in an inclusive way in the school curriculums?
Can you please repeat that?
Why is it likely that history will be taught in an inclusive way in school curriculums?
Well, actually, we believe that because when you're proud of your own country, when you know who you are in this global society, you're better able to understand other countries as well. And this is what makes it so inclusive, is that by teaching history that instills national pride, you can better understand other countries as well. And that is where inclusivity comes in, and I will be talking about that later in my speech. Now, I'd like to move on to how a country's current values are what's important today. With the United States and Black Lives Matter, these Black Lives Matter protests are proud of their country. They're proud of equality. They're proud of that the United States stands for equality. Even if there are some institutional wrongdoings in the United States institutions today, these protesters stand for the values of their own nation, and what creates that is that they are proud of their country. National pride is what creates that, and that is what side opposition is pushing for today. Moving on, as I was saying in answer to POI, national pride helps you appreciate other countries, because once you know who you are in the global context, you can better appreciate others. You see, I love Harry Potter, but that doesn't mean that I put down other books. It simply means that by loving Harry Potter, I can better see the values in other books as well. It helps me appreciate other things. So no, loving your country does not mean hating on others. It means that we can still instill this appreciation of culture in other nations better in school, which leads me to my second substantive, why history. History is a story of the past. What it accomplishes is it teaches us how our past created our present, what our present is, and what we can learn from the past for the future. It is a reflection of what the nation stands for today and why we stand for what we stand for today by looking at the past. It's simply a woven story. So why are we specifying that we want to teach a nation's history specifically? It's because high school is only 4 years and you have a limited amount of time and you cannot teach in any possible way the entire world's history. There's no way that you can be completely inclusive. So how we do this is that for our side, to be more inclusive than side proposition, we do that by instilling national pride, because we believe national pride is the easiest way in order to truly be inclusive, because national pride instills values that helps you live in this globalized society. And As stated earlier, national pride is not about hating other countries. We want national pride in schools because we can control it. Because in fact, these radical and extreme ideas that come with, oh, our country is the best and your country is worse, these ideas come from these radical views. And where do radical views come from? They can come from things like the internet. And when we teach this in school, we have so much more control over what we want our students to understand. We are able to teach these students that yes, this is what you should be proud of about your country, but it does not mean in any other way that if another country is different, that is bad. Because side opposition does not believe that just because we're different, that doesn't mean it's bad. This is what we believe, and we believe that our differences is what makes us a global society and what's helped create this delicate fabric of a globalized world. Furthermore, this helps decrease chances of misinformation because believe it or not, there's a lot of misinformation and extreme beliefs on the internet. And as I was saying, that is exactly where these radical beliefs come from. On our side, by teaching it in schools specifically, we have a teacher who has gone through educational training and is following the educational curriculum in order to teach national history from a non-distorted version. Through that, as I was saying, we instill national pride. So let me summarize today's debate, or today's first speaker's speech and what I've said earlier. National pride means accepting the past, but it also means being proud of values and change. This helps you appreciate other nations because once you learn to appreciate your own, you can learn to appreciate others as well. And by doing so, we create a more inclusive history and we create a better citizen in the global community in the future because, as I said, it is not possible to teach the history of every single country in the world. So the easiest way to do that is to teach you how to appreciate other countries, not to appreciate other countries, but teach you the mechanism of how you can appreciate others. And we do this in school with history because history is what takes into account the past. It's what takes into account the mistakes. And we believe that you can still be proud of your mistakes and still be proud of your own country as well. And we choose to teach in schools because it's controlled an education institution. And so because our side better stands for inclusive community, that is why I'm so proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thanks for that speech. We call on the second half to continue the round. Here.
To take none. I'll take one.
How can a nation unite without common values?
We explained that common values still exist outside of the history curriculum. I just don't understand why it is impossible to have common values with this history. You yourself point out that you can have common values.
Values that modern society currently holds. If it was in the past, right, during World War II, no country will be purposely, in at least the more developed countries won't be purposely showing or portraying history in a way that's not for risk, because that's just not good for yourself. And back to my point, right, regardless of race or ethnic, you can still be part of the national pride group of your country. And this just goes to show how it's better, because it's not a racial pride group, it's not an ethnic pride group. And it's better than having a racial pride group or a racial ethnic group, because in a country there are many races and there are many ethnics, right? And this national pride group allows for the movement. People are protesting because they want to improve their country, because they care for it. And we can change their country for better, but this also leads more and more people, because if you want to change your country, you need to know.
Why is history inclusive?
We've proven the national, I think both sides agree with the national pride.
I don't know what I remember him saying that we're going to be teaching glorified versions of the history of
Fifteen seconds left. Time. We call the third after the sound. Here. Yep.
POI,
Sure, I'll take it from mom.
do you not believe that you need a narrative to teach history?
You do need a narrative to teach history. We're just saying that that narrative should not be solely focused on nationalism, because nationalism encourages twisting it so that you are more proud of your country and so that you think that your values were upheld
stand for. And these are all the values that we want to teach students in their school. But the question that it boils down onto is that who better defends this? Because both sides in today's debate, because we have seen throughout the course that both sides agree that national pride is good. The thing is that national pride on both sides of the house is different. In on-side opposition, our version of national pride that's taught through history, with information, with facts, with actually acknowledgement of past mistakes is a much better version of national pride than the version that side proposition has come forth and proposed. Because the version of national pride that side proposition has proposed is national pride learned through things like national anthems and holidays. And as our third speaker pointed out, these things teach you nothing about the past mistakes. They don't teach you all the wrongdoings that your country did. And in fact, as our third speaker has said in their rebuttals, that side proposition has in fact contradicted themselves. They said that people don't want to feel guilty. And our third speaker said that yes, that is true. But the case that we're saying is that because people don't want to feel guilty, that just further substantiates why it's so important to teach it in school. Because people will not do it without school. People will not acknowledge past mistakes without school. And this is the case that we have been trying to push forth. So as I was saying, because it all boils down to, because we both agree that we want national pride, at the end it all boils down to why should we teach it in history. And in fact, this was my entire second substantive. In my very first speech, from the very beginning, side opposition has explained thoroughly why we choose history, why we choose schools, and we believe that the only thing that side proposition case can rest upon is the idea that our side's history is biased. And we have said that since our second and our third speaker, we both rebutted why our version is an objective history, and why even through an objective history, we can still have national pride. And side proposition is not even engaged with that. They have not even taken us on our framing, which, by the way, we have framed since the very first speaker have stated that our version of history that we are pushing for is able to be objective, and that through this objectivism, we can still have national pride. This has been stated since the very first speaker. And yet side proposition still maintains on the idea that national history can only instill national pride if it is biased, and we believe that that is false. And furthermore, our second speaker has also rebutted on the point of discriminatory history, about how history discriminates against these groups. And our third speaker has clarified onto that about how there's a difference between national history and ethnocentric history. There's a difference in that because the group that we're talking about today is the nation. This is the group that we want to unite, and this is what we said in our second speaker, that the group that we're striving for unity in is a nation. And what binds a nation together? What binds a nation together is these similar values. This is our entire case. The word values is what binds side opposition's case together. And we have been trying to push that since the very beginning, that we're talking about values. We're not talking about these past actions, and values that can change over time, as said in the very first speaker's speech. And yet, side proposition still seems to believe that these values are able to discriminate for some reason, and side opposition has shown with every single one of our speakers why values are the only thing that can truly unite a nation. And so it seems that side proposition's entire case is simply contingent on a few assumptions. They assume that we need a biased history in order to have national pride. They assume that we somehow stand for the past. They assume that anthems and national holidays have the same values as national history, and they assume that they lead to a better society. Well, in fact, all of these assumptions fall, and we have rebutted that with every one of our speakers. We have rebutted that with our substantives. Now, the assumption that we need a biased history, first of all, is wrong because of our substantives with our first speaker. The assumption that we stand for the past is also wrong because of what our second and third speaker have rebutted against that, is that we stand for what is today, because national pride is needed in the today. And also the assumption that national history provides no exclusive benefits is also wrong, because we have told you our second substantive is quite literally named why history. We have substantiated that since first speech, and side propositions failed to engage with that again. So because we lead to a better society, we win today's debate, and therefore I'm so proud to oppose. Thank you.
As far as I know, I'm not giving an oral adjudication, so if you want personal comments, I think it's also like illegal or bad if you message me directly since you're minors, so you can ask your coach. Sounds like a plan. All right, thanks all for the round.
So can you please, are you going to include the feedback onto the ballot?
Yeah, I still will.
Oh, okay,
Thank you.
that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That was really great. I feel like that was still the best speeches that you did. You feel that way?
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, that was give me a hug. That was the best I've ever seen you guys.
Oh, you were here. On your first, but that's okay, because it's gonna still be okay, right?
I felt down like that because I was watching welcome.
Yeah. Right, right.
Everything I said, so with the property goes as well. Like when you go after the Chinese capability. Yeah, and I also that this is all makes so hard. You think that made a ton of sense. I'm like when you go after the you just have to use examples.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh,